Your mind on fire
Hello, party people. Hello, Darksiders people. Once again, it is your boy Dre, and once again, I am back with Thracky. Can I call you Thracky?
You can call me Thracky Poo.
Cool, Thracky Poo. Thracky-chan.
Just don't call me Nine.
I will not call you that. And we are back here with more Darksiders. Boy, we are at Darksiders 3. That was a video game, wasn't it?
I think our opinions were different because I came out of this one a lot more positive than you. Because going into this game, you know, it's everyone was like, oh, it's like the weird Soulslike one, and it's kind of fucking weird. I'm like, okay, well, let's see what they do. My opinion on Soulslikes is kind of wonky. We can get into that. But I was like, yeah, let's just see what it is. And then after playing through the game, I was like, am I weird here? I don't know.
You might be, but like that doesn't mean that. Okay, I'll say this up front before we set up the game here. I don't think this is a bad game. I'm gonna say a lot of bad things about it.
Yeah.
Okay, but that's for many reasons. But first, let's start at the beginning here. When we teased this last episode, and I'm sure most people who are listening to this know this already. While Darksiders 2 was being put out and happening, THQ was in a really bad spot. They were financially almost bankrupt. And then basically after Darksiders 2 happened, they did go bankrupt and they did go under.
Oh, yes.
And then they were reborn by the time Darksiders 3 came out in November 2018 for PS4, Xbox One, Xbone. Wow. I haven't said Xbox One in a long time. I'm so used to saying Xbone. Yeah. And PC. In November 18. So there was like a 6-year gap between games here because of the death and rebirth of THQ. So Thrak, why don't we start there? Let's tell the people what happened here briefly. We don't have to go into every fucking detail, but...
Yeah, so I wrote a little thing called The Death of THQ. A quick question. Do you know what THQ stands for?
Have no idea.
Toy Headquarters.
That's right. I feel like I knew that at some point, and I forgot. Yes. Yeah.
And if you really think about it, THQ kind of became the successor to LJN, or kind of what LJN wanted to be.
Yes, exactly.
You know, like creating these like licensed games and appealing to like younger and like family demographics. Because THQ came about, I think it was like in the late 80s, early 90s. And my first time with THQ is a game that is dog shit, but I kind of like it and I enjoy playing it. And that is Where's Waldo on the NES. Like,
Lord, I remember a kid I knew had that, and I thought it was like, okay, that sure is. Why don't we just read the book?
I'm an absolute sicko. I've played that game more than most people, and I can like get through it fairly quick. I can beat that game in like 5 minutes. Like if I Twitch stream myself, like speed running it, I could be in the top ranked. I'm not even kidding. I just don't, because I don't care. But like like when people are like, how can you fucking tell? I'm like, oh yeah, that's Waldo. I can tell. Like my brain is just
stupid. I didn't know you were fucking Where's Waldo savant on NES.
I guess. And like the other game, The Great Waldo Search, I don't even like it nearly as much. It looks better, but there's just nothing there.
That is funny about the THQ. Do you know what Jalico stands for?
That's an acronym?
Yeah.
Japanese Action License Entertainment Company Organization.
Japan Leisure Company. Jalico.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I see it.
I bought some really old Arcade Archives game from like 80 or 81 that was made by Jalico, and it actually said Japan Leisure Company as their copyright at the bottom.
See, I call it Jalico.
I never really heard anyone say it out loud, to be honest. So I don't know.
I find it weird their NES games, like the spine just says the company's name, and I'm like, fuck you.
Yeah,
I want to see. Is this bases loaded? Like, I need to see. Okay,
is this bases loaded too, bitch? Come on, please tell me.
Good game.
But yeah, so Death and Rebirth of THQ.
So yeah, they were doing the family games and all the other stuff. Everything was going well. Like even up into 2007 when they had recorded the first time they had reached $1 billion in revenue. Like things were great.
Yeah.
But then in about 2007, two major things happened that changed them: the recession and the iPhone. Now, it sounds weird that these are happening kind of at the same time, because they did.
They
The
did.
iPhone launched like right before the housing crisis.
Yep.
And the recession, it hurt a bunch of companies. So THQ was no exception to that.
I got laid off.
Yeah, and they had been talking in their financial reports about how this market that they had occupied, that they dubbed KFC, for kids, family, and casuals. Like, even up until this point, they were talking about how it was a volatile market, and that they felt like the bottom could come out at any time, but they're like, everything's going great, so who cares? But then, you couple this with the iPhone coming out, being a huge hit, right? And the App Store would launch a year later, and with the recession going on, I think a lot of parents would have rather have paid, like, as I put here, it was much easier for mom and dad dough to pay $2 for Angry Birds rather than $40 just for some game on your Wii, your GameCube, or even your PS2.
That's for sure.
So, yeah. And actually, fun fact, the company that made Jetpack Joyride and Fruit Ninja, a studio called Half Brick, actually were a developer for THQ, making a bunch of GBA ports of like Avatar and things like that.
Wow. I love Jetpack Joyride. Yeah.
Oh, great game. Yeah. And Fruit Ninja's still kind of fun. Yeah, they were a developer for THQ on the portable side before going independent and doing just fine. Now they still exist. So this shift in their fortunes caused them to rethink how they should be structured, promising a shift to more, quote, core titles for consoles as the casual market was leaving. But despite this, they were still kind of hanging on to that casual market because they were still signing license deals with Nickelodeon, Disney. They still had their WWE deal as well. But that's when they streamlined their WWE titles to just be like SmackDown versus Raw, which morphed into like WWE 12, which became then
I forgot
series.
They had the wrestling shit. I completely forgot. Yeah,
because if you think about it, in the early 2000s, the PS2 had the SmackDown series, Xbox had the 2 Raw games, and then the GameCube had WrestleMania 18, 19, and then Day of Reckoning 1 and 2.
Yes, I remember Day of Reckoning. Yeah.
That was
filled a bargain bin, Day of Reckoning.
Oh, I loved both I still love both Day of Reckoning games. But
I didn't say it was bad. I'm just saying I saw a lot of copies of it.
Yeah, I could go on and on about wrestling games, but we're not here for that. But anyways, but despite saying we're going to do more core titles, they were still doing the family games I mentioned in the casual stuff. And then they even had a real big hit with this little peripheral called the U-Draw tablet.
That's fucking right. I forgot they did the U-Draw.
Yeah, so this thing, it released for the Wii in 2010 and did incredibly well because a drawing tablet with some games on it like definitely appealed to the Wii market. And this was like right before everyone started bitching about having all the plastic instruments and shit, right, with Guitar Hero. This was like the rebirth of peripherals. Like we all had a Rock Band drum set. We all had a Guitar Hero guitar.
Oh, we sure did. I played a lot of Rock Band.
Those shitty Rock Band like microphones that a lot of people recorded YouTube videos with. Right?
People did that?
Oh yeah, a lot of
my god,
like a lot of early YouTube from like 2006, 2007. If the audio quality is really bad, they'll probably just be like, "Oh, it's just a Rock Band mic because I had it. I just plugged it into my computer."
Well, I'm well acquainted with that microphone. Me and 4 friends went like 4 ways on a Rock Band because what was it, like $180 or something like that? Like it was a lot of money.
Yeah, it was the guitar, the drum set, the microphone, the game.
Yeah, it was like a lot of money. Yeah. So we all went halves and we played it for months, dude. So we definitely got our money's worth. But like, I didn't know people recorded fucking YouTube videos with the mic.
Absolutely. So
Jesus Christ.
Anyway. This U-Draw tablet, it did incredibly well. In fact, they had a hard time keeping stock in. And this was the era where it was still kind of hard to find Wii's. But by this time it was getting easier, and also, they were making their core titles like Red Faction and Saints Row and all that stuff. So they were in a spot where it's like, they're trying to have their cake and eat it too, but they didn't really calculate this very well because with the U-Draw's success, they decided to make a version for the PS3 and the Xbox 360. And the problem with this was they grossly overestimated how well it was going to sell. Because with the original U-Draw, it was like $70 with the tablet. I think it had a game with it, and a couple games came with it later, like Pictionary. Like, there's a really cool version of Pictionary there. Like that one Marvel, kind of Marvel Ultimate Alliance-y game had connections to it. They made like Drawn to Life for it, but then that company went on to do Scribblenauts, so they kind of abandoned it.
Right, yeah.
That whole thing. So they're thinking, let's make one for the PS3 and the 360, even though like the audiences really weren't the same. on those systems, but they thought it would be just as big, if not a bigger success. So they ordered a year's worth of stock before that thing came out. And it did not sell. And it was so bad, they lost $100 million.
Yeah. So here's the thing. I've always known that UDraw. Well, see, I didn't remember until you said UDraw. I was like, oh, yeah, that's what fucked them up. So here's how I thought this went. And I'm glad we had this little segment. I always thought the UDraw was a flop from the jump. Apparently, that's not the case. I guess it did well on Wii. It's just because here's the thing. I saw so many goddamn copies of them at Walmart and everything. There was just so many U-Draws. I'm like, no one's buying these things. But apparently they sold well at first, particularly on Wii. So that's good to know.
Because it's like a casual thing meant for like, kids to just kind of draw. And it made more sense that they would have a Wii.
Can I tell you my crackpot theory now?
Go for it.
U-Draw secretly killed the Wii U before it was ever alive.
Because of the U in the name?
No, not just the U, the functionality of that thing.
Yeah, I could see it.
You know what I mean? I feel like people saw that. It's like, oh, that's just a Wii that comes now with a U-Draw with their very casual market, right? I feel like that maybe that's what happened.
It's possible. Did the Wii U get like a drawing tablet thing that you could draw on that thing?
Oh, I know they had like apps and stuff, but I don't know if they got like a specific like tablet thing.
Okay, because I feel like that would have been a cool way to learn to draw on, with that tablet.
I feel like people learn to draw by doing like PictoChat and shit on DS. No joke. I feel like future artists have came from that.
Oh, yeah, I saw a lot of well-drawn penises on PictoChat.
Dude, the detail, the veins, the pores, and the small hairs and the long hairs.
Yeah, I'm like, dude, you drew ingrown hairs. I'm impressed. But anyways, so because of that, they lost $100 million in revenue, which is bad.
Very.
But some other companies have been kind of able to get past that, but THQ never really planned for this. Like, remember when I talked about how they, were in a volatile market? They ran their business like that because they just didn't really have the cash reserves.
Yeah.
So because of that, they couldn't stomach this thing. And even though like the core games that they had, like Darksiders, Red Faction, Saints Row, like Homefront, if you remember that, like the first Metro game was them. Like even
that's right.
Like all those games overperformed and like sold well beyond their expectations. Take that, Square. Like they did. they all maybe didn't review well, but they all sold. They all made their money back. But due to THQ not really understanding how to run like core studios and being like, what do you mean you can't get a game out in 6 months? Like this takes you 2 years and you have to delay it. Like couple that with them trying to keep their like casual market, and it just was not working. They even dabbled in mobile, but it was never like a place that they stayed, because I think a bunch of other companies who knew how to make mobile games came in, took those licenses from them, and were like, hey, we can make these games cheaper and you'll get more on your return,
and
kind
better,
of a thing.
Yeah.
Exactly. And that's basically what happened. So because of that, like, and the KFC side and the core side, they didn't get along either. So because of that, it was just kind of the death nail, and THQ ended up declaring bankruptcy and selling off all their assets. That in itself is also another story, but we're not like, there's legal problems.
That's a whole fucking thing.
But we're not going there. So anyways, Nordic Games came in about, I think they formed in like 2011, and like around the time all of this was happening, and then they acquired most of it from THQ. And even I think it was in 2014 is when they got the THQ name.
Yes.
And then about 2016 is when they rebranded themselves as THQ Nordic, which is where they exist today, as like a weird amalgamation of what THQ was. It's basically like a stepchild of a family that's like, they all fucking died, but the stepchild still exists, and he takes on the last name. And it's like, sure, but it doesn't feel the same. You know what I mean?
I guess, but not really.
But I will say, I don't hate THQ Nordic. I like, crazy enough, I feel like they kind of recognize the audience that they have with that branding, and are trying their best to tap into that. It doesn't always hit, but I mean, hell, they brought like SpongeBob console games back, and that makes me very happy.
Which is fucking weird.
But I'm happy because I'm a SpongeBob boy.
It's kind of like how the traditional thing in Japan, where like, if the woman has a very traditional name like Suzuki or something like that, that's like a very known like last name, the man will take her last name.
Yeah.
When they get married, to preserve that like lineage or whatever. Yeah, same thing. That's what I'm comparing THQ Nordic to, a very traditional Japanese,
a very Japanese company. That THQ.
Yes.
In fact, I think THQ was actually formed by like a former LJN guy. Like I think like a guy who worked at LJN left and then formed THQ because he thought LJN was going down the shitter, and he was right. That's why they became what they became. I think that's
what's
correct.
so fucking funny for anyone my age, because we're used to like THQ and LJN being like the crap masters of crap.
Yeah,
right?
but I'll always have a soft spot in my heart for THQ because looking at their gamography and the stuff that they did when I was a kid in the GameCube era, playing Battle for Bikini Bottom, playing those licensed games and being like, I like these, and even playing them recently going, they hold up better than you'd think.
Mm-hmm. They're not the worst. They were just never like the best thing to play. They were just never like,
but I think that's more down to the developers. Like Heavy Iron were at their peak in that era, just making some really good games.
Sure were.
For what they were.
All right, now that we set the stage for Darksiders 3, this is how we got here. So again, this came out in 2018. They've already reformed as THQ Nordic. They finally got started on a new Darksiders after all that time.
Well,
the
developer of Darksiders 3 is a company called Gunfire Games, and they were kind of the remnants of Vigil Games, but so when THQ was folding, they got a call from Crytek saying, "Hey, do you guys want to like join us and be the American Crytek?" And they went, "Okay." And then they bid on Vigil Games, and then they acquired them, and then like they were like working on stuff for Crytek for a little bit. I don't know if they ever actually like officially released anything with them, but like they were working with them for a little bit, but then Crytek kind of let them go when they were trying to, slim themselves down a bit. And then Nordic saw that and swept them up and said, "You want to do a new Darksiders?" And they're like, "Yeah." Because I don't think Crytek acquired the Darksiders license or the IP during that. In fact, fun fact, during THQ's like asset selling, do you know what company was trying to acquire Darksiders? Platinum.
That would have been good. That would have been a very different game, but that would have been good.
Peak Platinum making a Darksiders. What a what if that would be.
Oh, that's a great what if, man. I don't know why you had to tell me that right now. That's all I want to think about. I want to have a whole show now where we talk about the what if of that. This Gunfire Games, I don't know if they just never played a Darksiders game before or something, but they were just like, "Hey, let's it's Soulslike time, baby." And here's what I can't understand. And this is something I've tried to look this up and I can't really find an answer to this. Why did they do this? Why did they make a Soulslike?
Because it's 2018 and Soulslikes are hot shit, baby.
But did they just think for a second, like, hey, a lot of people aren't going to like this, even if it's good?
Well, I think probably what they were looking at was, between Darksiders 1 and 2 is when Dark Souls came out. And, it was a huge hit. And though I feel like it took Darksiders a couple years for its impact to really hit. Like, I think it was by Dark Souls.
It was popular enough at the time, but it wasn't like a huge thing.
To me, it wasn't like until like Dark Souls 3 where it's like, okay, now it's like swallowing a lot of shit whole. And I think part of the pitch to get a Darksiders 3 was to make it add in Souls-like elements, but it's not Sekiro. It's not Demon Souls. It's not even like Lies of P or Bloodborne. You know what I mean? Like it doesn't have that FromSoft DNA attached to it. You know what I mean?
All I can tell you is this. If I had been following Darksiders up to this point, and I had played Darksiders and Darksiders 2, if I had bought this when it came out, I would have been pissed. I would have been nuclear pissed.
But the thing is, you're not the only one, because this game famously has mixed opinions. Like its Metacritic sits between like a high 50 on the Switch, which is probably just because it doesn't run well.
It probably runs like ass.
Yeah.
This is not a
PC.
well optimized game, folks. By the way, it kind of runs like poop.
I will say playing it on the series, it was fine. I think it maybe crashed on me once.
It crashed on me once as well, but I'm talking more like performance. It just didn't. It was just not a good. It's just not a good performing game. Even on my PC, which should smoke a game like this, it doesn't. It struggles.
If the performance was iffy on here, I wouldn't know. I just don't have the eyes for that stuff. Like when people are like, "Oh, notice it goes from 60 to like 42," I'm like, I do not have that brain. I'm not that autistic. Okay, I can't determine that shit.
I mean, I might be, because I tell you what, I can definitely see that. But like, I'm not one of those people. It's like, oh, it keeps dropping to 55. I'm like, bro, I play Warriors games. I don't give a. I mean, please, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, I see all sorts of frame rates. Point is, yeah, I'm not going to like ding a game for dropping a little bit. That's fine. It's just that this felt all over the place. And obviously, this game is not built for something like Steam Deck because they can't handle it. But on Steam Deck, oof, the performance was rough. But I had to play it a lot that way just to get the game done, because I had to play it on the go, play it at work and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But I tried to mostly play it on the PC where it would run mostly okay-ish.
Yeah, and playing this on a, for this game, a next-gen console that's more powerful. Like, for the most part, I had barely any issues. It was fine.
Right. Yeah, and reviewers had certainly a reception. I'm just going to read this from Wiki because it's easiest.
Do. Yeah.
Okay, so first of all, it says Darksiders 3 received mixed or average reviews from critics, which is exactly what I would expect. The game was widely criticized for the technical issues in both console and PC versions of the game. So I guess it's not just me. Well, they probably patched out a lot of this. I would imagine.
Yeah.
At this point.
Like, I come to games so fucking late that when I look up reviews for a game and they're like, "Oh, this game ran like ass when it came out," and it's like, well, I'm playing this 5 years later and it's fine. So if anything, if a game runs like ass, just wait a year and play it and it'll be fine.
I don't want to get into this whole conversation because I really hate. We've done it a couple times on this show already, so I don't want to go there. I really fucking hate when people are like, review shouldn't mention performance because things get patched. It's like, no. You need to review the game that comes out. If it runs like ass, you should do that. I'm not saying you were saying that. I'm just saying that, like, people have those fucking. Oh, we had this conversation around Jedi Survivor. Remember how hardly any reviews mentioned that it was a technical nightmare?
Oh yeah, I remember.
And that was a whole fucking thing. And I got duped for my $70 fucking for a game that runs like booty butt cheeks.
Yeah,
and nobody said anything. And that, like, I was just like, fucking what, man.
And again, by the time I played it, like almost a year later, it was fine.
Yeah, but you have to mention that shit.
Yeah,
anyway.
but then you run into that issue of like, well, if all these games need like an extra year before they run well, why not just fucking wait a year?
Exactly.
Just spend a year cleaning it up and you're fine.
And people wonder why whatever. I'm not going to get into it.
It's a whole thing.
Eurogamer's review of Darksiders 3 criticized the, quote, straightforward combat, saying it's a matter of upgrade weapon damage.
I don't agree with that.
And that the few puzzles are too simple, and in concluding, this is written like shit. I'm not stumbling over my words. Wiki wrote it this way, I promise. And in concluding that it has done better in the past.
In a way.
GameSpot's review says that the game is unfocused, and that the clear inspiration from Dark Souls go against the rest of the series' design, that the game has rudimentary puzzles, and concludes by saying that Darksiders 3 retrogrades on its predecessors with an unfocused approach that constantly clashes itself.
Yeah.
PC Gamer's review says that the game doesn't commit itself enough on the RPG department due to the game's lack of a loot system, I agree, and weapons being earned as the plot goes on. He ends his review by saying, it doesn't condemn Darksiders to oblivion, but it's the lowlight of the series so far. So, I don't necessarily agree with all of these takes. However, I completely understand them. I totally get, like, again, if I was following Darksiders up to this point, I mean, I wouldn't even be this nice. I would just be pissed, right? So that I got duped. So, I know you like this game probably more than most. So, I'm assuming you don't agree with most of this at all.
Well, I feel like if you're comparing this game to the other two, like the first two, I think it's fair to have some of these criticisms, but also you have to think about it. Like Darksiders 2 was 2012. this game is 2018. It's been 6 years, and a lot has changed in games over that 6 years. So I think if 3 stuck to a format that was similar to 1 or 2, people would have called it outdated. They would have called it old and said that it's not sticking with the times.
Don't call it Darksiders 3. Call it something else.
But I feel like this game is more Darksiders than they're giving it credit for as well. Because
I'm not so sure.
Well, if you think about it, the art style is a clear return to 1.
Yes, and that's one of my favorite things about it, to be honest.
And it like tries to have like a half decent plot that I like kind of think is interesting. Like, I think Fury is kind of a neat character.
Fury's the best character, if you ask me.
As far as like an actual character in the series, I think she's the best of like the 4 horsemen.
100%.
Yeah, in
I'll
that
give
way.
the game that for sure.
And again, I think these people are being harsh because the game like has more Souls-like combat, but I wouldn't call it a Souls game either. Like, it's just the combat is a little.
I would have to call it one.
But like, it's just because the combat is heavier and less character actiony than before, and it's focusing more on like dodge rolls. Like it's kind of like Bloodborne, where it focuses on like doing like dodge, like perfect dodges, and then just smacking the shit out of them to get like a damage boost, and you just rinse and repeat that, which is like a Bloodborne thing basically,
which
or a Lies of P.
I find extremely boring. And maybe I should say that. Let's start there before we get into the game proper.
Sure.
Obviously, anyone who has listened to this show for 5 seconds knows that I hate Soulslikes. Can you tell? Gee, this is not a genre I care for, and I think I should say exactly why, because it'll help as we start talking about the game.
Yeah, go for it. Yeah,
as you just said, what you just described, that combat loop puts me right to bed. That does not do anything for me. I also feel like a lot of the enemies, especially bosses, okay, here's a swipe, here's another swipe. Oh, he's going to do the overhead 1, 2, 3. And I got to block them or dodge them, and then I counterattack. How many times am I going to see that? Like, Jesus Christ, it's like mind numbing. So here's the thing. At first, I actually don't mind that. I'm not one of those people who needs like every enemy to do this like super unique thing. It's just that for me, and especially at the pace that those games play, what happens is I tried a bunch of them. I've tried the original Dark Souls. I've tried Demon Souls PS5. I've tried the demo of Lies of P. At some point, I just get bored. I start out and it's like, okay, this is okay. But then I think after a couple hours, Thrak, I just am like, I can't. I'm done with this. That's usually how I feel.
Well, you'd mentioned also like Jedi Survivor and also Jedi Fallen Order. Like, do you feel the same way about those games? Because
I don't even think those games are the same genre, and that's something I'll get to in a second.
But I would say their combat is very Souls-like, though. It is presented in a more casual way, I think, to appeal to mainstream people because of Star Wars. But I remember when I played it, I was like, if you compare it to say like Forced Unleashed, like it's very different from that.
It's very different, but I don't get a whiff of Souls from those games at all.
Well, if you want my take on Soulslikes, it's I've dabbled in them over the years, have kind of a mixed opinion. Like Dark Souls 1, I've never liked. I've tried so many times, it just doesn't do it for me.
I played like 8 hours once on like 360. I got bored. I've tried it again on PC. I also got bored. I'm like, I just can't play this game.
I feel like it's a game that it just kind of passed me by. I don't know, but like
it's boring.
But like I've dabbled in Sekiro. I think Sekiro is fucking awesome, but it is one of the hardest games I've ever played. But that game is like really engaging with like the stance meter and all these different abilities you have. Like it's a game that you can kind of, as a Souls game, you don't have to necessarily approach it like a Souls game. Like it gives you a bunch of different options to sort of give you different ways of playing through it. You know, it's not, and the combat is not boring in that game at all because it's not, every character, every enemy, and every boss doesn't have the same like strategy. You know, they all kind of operate slightly. Like some you have to stand there and block, some you need to dodge, and others you kind of learn to combine those and use like your new abilities. Sekiro is just kind of a different beast entirely, and that's really what I've liked about it. And then like the Jedi games, I think are great.
Those are not. You are making me upset right now. I tell you.
But I like both of them. I think they're both fantastic.
They were not even. let me go on with why I don't like Soulslikes. So what I don't like about these is that I often find the level design extremely unsatisfying. I don't think they're very interesting. They always feel like form and kind of functional. They don't feel very, and this could go back to like the types of art styles and things that these games use, because that's another hurdle for me with Souls games. I don't like the art at all.
That like dark fantasy thing.
I don't. Here's the thing. I really like Japanese takes on Western tropes. This is not doing that. This is not Final Fantasy. This is not a Capcom game. This is not Dragon's Dogma. This just feels like a straight up, like this could have been made by Bethesda or something. I think that's why their games are so popular here, but that's an entirely other topic. I don't find those kind of art styles and that level design style interesting. Oh, wow, I got to use the rope, so I have a shortcut now. That's not very, if that's like the most exciting thing you can do to me, don't give me Bayonetta games don't have level design. It's just you go forward and you do stuff. Devil May Cry, again, those are different genres.
Hallway.
Exactly. Just let me, if the whole point is that I'm going to do this like weird combat and go through this gauntlet and fight stuff, don't try to design stuff for me. But that's just the way I feel. Also, one thing I don't like in these games, 99% of the time they have a stamina bar. Thankfully, Darksiders 3 does not have that. Thank fuck.
Oh, yeah.
Otherwise, a full disclosure to the audience, to this guy as I was playing this game, I was bitching so much on Discord. He was hearing, I'm sorry, I had to get it out of my system. I was I fucking hate this shit. I hate it so much. I wanted to be over. I was letting all my poison out in that chat. But if this had a stamina bar, it would have been 3 times as worse.
Yeah,
I can't stand that shit.
And then I came out of it being like, kind of liked it more than 1 and 2.
I mean, yeah, because it's not the same fucking thing. It's like the Resident Evil 4 thing. It's like, now I like Resident Evil. Yeah, bitch, because it's not Resident Evil anymore. Anyway,
I think 4 counts.
Maybe, but like I don't like that stuff. Again, this is not something Darksiders 3 has, but like I just think almost in any instance, this is like one game design thing I don't understand as a stamina bar. I cannot imagine any instance where that makes your game more fun or better. I don't. I really don't.
In a way, I feel like it's just trying to like limit the player so they don't exploit it, I guess, because the Souls games, I feel you could, without a stamina bar, you could easily exploit the combat and make it too easy.
Balance your fucking game, man.
I agree.
I don't know, dude.
No, I agree. Like I'm
do
not
something.
like I'm not one of these guys saying like, Soulslikes are like the best genre, and if you can't play them, it's because you suck or whatever. Like I'm not that guy. No, I've never been that guy. But the more I've played games that count themselves as that, the more I'm like, I'm starting to get it. Like I'm starting to understand why people like it, and I think it's just because it's a different approach to games. Like it's not something I want all the time, but there's some, I'm starting to understand. There's kind of there's like a rhythm to the way like you have to dodge or perfect parry that I think people appreciate. There's something to the combat being a little bit more weighty and less flashy. There's something to it.
There is something to it, and I'm okay with like a slower pace. It's just that like it's not the speed of the game that bores me. It's just like at some point you need enough things for it to be okay. Like I'll give you an example. At some point I found the DMC reboot, the 2013 game. Like halfway through that game, I kind of found that boring, and that's much more my style of gameplay.
Yeah.
But at some point they just forgot that like, okay, this button pulls things towards you. Okay, this thing pulls stuff away from you. I don't know if you ever played the game, but it's just like they distilled DMC down to that, and it's just like that's not ever what those games combat were like. And again, you can switch it up, that's fine, but they made it so kind of one note that it became boring to me. So it's not just the pace of it, it's just like I need enough stuff to do. Like
the DMC reboot is a lot more of just kind of like standard action fare, and in some ways it kind of takes away what makes like the Devil May Cry games like give them their sense of identity. Though I kind of liked the reboot, but
it's not terrible.
But I'm not going to sit here and say like it's one of the better games in the series. I mean, I like the bits that kind of piss some people off, like the famous like wig moment. I love that part.
It's weird that people got mad about that. Like, what do you expect from like?
I just like when game designers kind of like troll shitty fans because it's like you're gonna be shitty anyway, so fuck you. Like, I kind of respect that.
Speaking of running like ass, that game ran like ass when it came out. I waited to play it on PS4. I'm like, I'm not playing these versions.
I bought a 360 copy because it was dirt cheap, and everyone told me, including our buddy Chris, like, dude, just get the definitive edition. It runs so much better. And I was like, okay. I sold that copy, got the definitive edition. I was like, oh yeah, this runs just fine.
Oh, dude. Well, they tried to patch it. I remember my roommate at the time had it on PS3 when it came out, and it was running like in the teens, dude.
Yeah,
it was terrible.
It's a game that it starts out really well and I think has an okay ending, but yeah, it does in the middle kind of like just fall into the trap of like, it's just a game.
Yeah.
You know, and I can see that, like, especially after I've played through DMC 1 and 2. It's a better game than 2, but that's not hard.
No.
But like with DMC 1, even if I'm not the biggest fan of that game, it has like a really unique style to it that I see why it succeeded in the way that it did, and I did appreciate it, even if it's not a game I would play all the time. But I came out of it with like respect.
It's not like, terrible, but I was just like, I don't think we needed to do this. The last thing that really pisses me off, now obviously a lot of noise is made about the difficulty of Souls games, and that's part of their charm, right?
Oh yeah,
of course.
They
I think,
and you
know me, I'm one who thinks like a lot of things are made too easy nowadays. I wish we had more resistance and friction, I think is the term people like to use nowadays.
That's the friction. That's the term you like.
But I do think very often Souls games don't respect the player. I feel like there's a lot of things where it's like, you walk into a room and there's some asshole hiding around the corner and they just slash you. Or like you're fighting these guys and then like 3 fucking archers that you never saw just appear and then they start pelting you with arrows and then you're dead. And then it's just like, that is not respectful. I don't think that's fun. I don't think that kind of like being trolly with game design is never fun. You see it in a million like shitty Mario Maker levels that people make. It's like, haha, you died. And it's like, none of that. That's not fun.
Yeah.
I don't get it. So like, I feel like Souls games often rely on that type of shit. And I'm not down with that. I don't like it.
But is it that different from, say, like an old 8-bit NES game that does similar things? But
what
at
games
least
do that aren't like lost levels?
Well,
though?
but at least those games, like say games that like the Ninja Gaiden games on NES are crazy difficult, right?
They're hard, but they're not trying to trick you. That's my whole thing. Don't trick me.
But what I'm trying to say is back then, again, as I had said, game design, they hadn't quite figured it out. So they were just trying all different kinds of things. And they were going off of like arcade game design, which arcade game design is inherently
That's designed
unfair.
to fuck you. It's
inherently unfair. Yeah.
Yes. It's supposed to be.
So when people say it's back to like the old school style of difficult, I'm like, in a way, yeah, it is.
It's not though, because these games are they're trying to trick you. Ninja Gaiden, for let's say the arcade version Ninja Gaiden, which is brutally difficult, they're not trying to trick you. It's just really fucking impossibly hard. Could you get good at it and beat it? Yes, you could. Right.
But you can get good and beat any game.
They're not out there trying to surprise you to kill you. And I feel like a lot of these Souls games are trying to do that, and I don't like that. Well, I don't think that's fun.
Well, I think it just comes down to enemy placement, and I just think some old like NES games have terrible enemy placement.
Yeah,
like absolute dog shit.
They weren't they weren't necessarily trying to fuck you. They were just like,
I think it's just they didn't know what they were doing.
Making games, we don't know.
But yeah. So, but I think in Souls games you. Like, even if they do the guy coming around the corner, you have more of a chance to dodge that shit as opposed to a side scroller where it's just like the guy just pops in. I'm like, oh, fuck, I got to figure it out, you know? But yeah. But also, people say like the old Sonic games are unfair. And I've never agreed with that either.
I don't believe that at all.
Or like when people say they hate trial and error gameplay. And I'm like, dude, every game's trial and error. Like every single game. Like that's a straw man argument.
It's. Not every game is trial. I mean, I don't think Souls games are trial and error, by the way. Not that you said I said that, but it's I don't...
They have elements of that. I think that comes down more to like... I think the trial and error comes from the boss battles.
Yeah, because it's like... But again, that's part of the thing where it's like... they're doing stuff to you where it's like, okay, something will just happen to you, or you'll get right out of the cutscene and they'll be already mid animation about to stab you in like 1.4 seconds. And it's like, whoa, you know, and it's just like, okay, that's the type of shit where I'm like, okay, stop. You know?
Yeah. No, that's fair. I think that's fair.
I don't like that kind of stuff. So, and that, to me, that's not difficulty. That's just not respecting me as a player.
Yeah, but also I think it's hard to like really create a difficulty that suits most people. Like that's just very difficult to do. That's why we have difficulty selectors.
Yeah.
You know, some people will say this game's too easy, and then you play it and go, this is really fucking hard. What are you talking about? And vice versa.
You're coasting with Mind Time.
So, I want to tell you, or rather, I want to present to you, because I talked this about you briefly, because we're talking about Soulslikes, and you said you're talking about Jedi Survivor, whatever, and it finally hit me while playing Darksiders 3 why this whole discussion of stuff, because there are also people who will say like Jedi Survivor is like I'm going to say the word I hate, a Metroidvania. And shit. And I'm like, what the fuck are you talking about? People will say that about Darksiders 3 as well, apparently. And I'm like, what are we saying here?
Well, I think people say that because Soulslikes have a little bit of design borrowed from those, and that's just more of like backtracking and finding abilities to enter new areas, which is something they do.
This is something they do, but it's not. Here's the thing. And look, so this is why I want to present to you. I thought of this. A light bulb appeared over my head. Not that this is an original thought by any means, right? But I want to present it to you, and you tell me what you think. Okay, shoot. Here's the basis of my theory on this. Once something is put into another type of genre, and it becomes heavily like mutated by other elements, it is no longer that thing anymore, and it has become something else. Okay? So I need an example. Yeah, I'm going to give you examples. I have plenty of examples. So, just like I said, there are people like you who will call Jedi Fallen Order or Jedi Survivor either a Souls-like or, God forbid, again, a Metroidvania. And I don't think they're like either of those things. And I understand the tendency to call the Jedi games that, because yes, you have your world respawning enemies if you use a checkpoint. Yeah, you have some like recursive or like backtracking stuff like you need to do, like that recursive level design we talked about that I'm not a huge fan of. But I largely do not understand why those genre terms are used, because as far as I'm concerned, those elements are so mutated by everything else that is Jedi Survivor or Jedi Fallen Order, like all the mobility stuff or the wall running and all like the platforming. Like Souls games don't have that. And like all the crazy shit that's like totally unique to those games, to the point where the entire production feels like its own thing. And like presentation matters. And tone matters, and fucking Star Wars matters, right? So, like, by nature, it can't really be like a Metroid game unless it ditches a lot of those things and becomes like a very tonally different thing. So, like, to put it another way, I would never say to anybody, oh, if you like Dark Souls, you'll like Jedi Survivor. That would be insane to me. That would be malpractice. That person should never listen to me again if I say that.
With Jedi Fallen Order and Jedi Survivor, whenever I've heard people talk about them, they have like, it's like it has Souls-like combat. It has like the map system is Metroid Prime. Like it's the exact same fucking system.
Yes.
Like, you know, like it has the search action stuff. It has like Uncharted platforming. Like it has all of these elements, and it kind of squishes it together into making Jedi Fallen Order like, yeah, kind of its own unique experience. Like I wouldn't say it's like a Metroidvania.
Yeah,
and I'm not even and when I say like Souls-like, I mean like it has combat that is like Souls. And like if I put it next to Sekiro, like it doesn't fit. It doesn't fit at all. But I've said to people before, and I still agree with this, like if you're curious to what Souls-likes are, like as far as like the combat and how that's all staged, and you're worried about the difficulty, play the Jedi games, put them on like easy mode, and you'll get an idea for like, this is how they set up the combat with the boss battles, and this is how like you do the blocking and the dodging and all that stuff. It feels like a training manual for being like, okay, you kind of, if you like this, if you liked the Jedi combat, then you can go try the Souls games because it's more of that. You know what I mean? But you're not going to get the platforming. You're not going to get like the crazy amounts of backtracking you do in
You're
that.
not going to get the Star
stories.
Wars.
You're not going to get the Star Wars vibe. No, but Star Wars games have a history of taking ideas from other games and other genres and making it Star Wars. Like Dark Forces is their Doom clone.
But that's what I mean. Like Jedi Survivor, because it has taken all those things, I don't feel like it feels like that at all. Let me use a very old example. Okay.
Sure.
I think let's try it this way. Dragon Quest. Since we were talking about it before we started the show here, okay?
Oh, yeah.
The original Dragon Quest, that makes use of a command menu. Look, talk, stairs, equip, whatever, right? Like they're all in this menu that you pick from. They got that shit from PC games, like PC adventure games.
Wizardry, all that good stuff.
Exactly. But now they're in this new type of like compact role-playing game that you could play on your TV. Yeah. Right? So yeah, Dragon Quest has an element that is heavily borrowed from like another thing, but it is not that thing. Dragon Quest is its own thing. Nobody would ever say Dragon Quest is like Shadowgate because they both have a command menu. You know what I mean?
But I don't think that's the same argument, though.
But I feel like that's what we're doing because, like, I would never say Jedi Survivor is like Dark Souls just because it has these couple of things. But they are so far apart to me.
But like, I'm not really saying that either. I'm just saying its combat is like influenced by Dark Souls, and it is. You know, but
it can be influenced by it, but it is not that thing, though. I don't think it feels like that at all.
But it's more similar than you'd think, at least in my opinion. It maybe again. I think I keep referring to Sekiro. I'm like, I think if you played Sekiro, I think you would probably see. People have compared the combat in like the Jedi games to maybe like Sekiro, and I think there's probably more of a connecting thread there than you would think. Because both of them, you know, mainly use like swords or sabers. You know, there's like the stance meter and that kind of stuff to where if you take too many hits, you get your stance breaking and then you come in for like a hit. But at the same time, you can do that to the other enemy. Like that is Sekiro. You know, like fucking with a guy's stance meter and shit.
I should probably play that game. Whether I like it or not, I feel like I should play it just so I know for knowledge.
I don't know if Sekiro will necessarily win you over, but I think you'd probably like it more than like the other FromSoft games because it is it's still in that genre, but it is a different beast. And that's what I like. Like it's comparable to like if you played Tenchu.
I like Tenchu.
Which From actually made Tenchu.
Well, so I mean, I know this was supposed to be a Tenchu game when they started.
Yeah, then, so there's that connection as well.
Yeah, From took over Tenchu at some point, I think in the 2000s. I don't think they used to make them. Did they make the originals? Yeah, then at some point they like took them over.
Yeah. But like but I agree. If people are saying Jedi Fallen Order is like in the same room as like Dark Souls, I don't think that's correct. But if you say it's in the same house, like Dark Souls is like the living room, and then Jedi Survivor is like, you know, the bathroom off in the corner. It's like they're closer than I think you'd think. But at the same time, I wouldn't. But I wouldn't say like. But also like that topic of saying like, oh, like Dragon Quest is a CRPG. Like, no, the fuck it's not.
But that's the whole fucking thing.
I'm glad
you said that term because I feel like my whole point with all of this is, by the way, I promise we'll talk about Darksiders 3 in a second. We need better descriptors of stuff. That was my whole. My whole point with the stop saying Metroidvania episode. Yes, I dunked on the term because like I hate the term and I think it's stupid. But my whole point at the end of that was we need to talk about games better. Like we need to describe stuff better. We can't just be out here calling everything a Soulslike or a Metroidvania. It's so stupid and it does everything a disservice. Not just Castlevania and Metroid, which was kind of how I framed that episode, but just everything we need to describe. I remember one time in Dave's Tales from the Backlog server. I remember one time someone said CRPG. Someone else asked, what does CRPG mean? One person said computer RPG. Another person said classic RPG. What the fuck?
I thought CRPG was computer RPG.
Yeah, okay, I've never known. I quite honestly have never known. So I didn't correct anybody. It wasn't my conversation. Point is, we can't even agree on the C in a CRPG. You know what I mean? Like, we need to talk about this stuff better.
Yeah, because when people would talk about CRPGs, they would refer to it in like the original Fallout and Baldur's Gate and like Ultima, like those like PC Western RPGs. So that's why I thought that's what a CRPG stood for. That was my kind of logic behind that.
I mean, I agree with you, but I actually don't know because I didn't play RPGs till fucking Chrono Trigger. So like, I don't, you know what I mean? I didn't like, you know.
So you're using this episode to just be like, fuck the Metroidvania, call them search actions, damn it.
Whatever. Yeah, call them whatever. I mean, I hate the term. Don't get me wrong, but my whole point is, I think we should really talk about this stuff a lot better. I really feel we should.
Like, the more I've thought about it, the more I don't like the Metroidvania name either, because not only does it mean you have to have knowledge of the two games prior to know what they're trying to be.
That was also a point.
In a way, it also limits what they can be, because if you're not copying Super Metroid or Symphony of the Night, then it's like, well, it's not the same
yet
thing.
Another fucking point I made too, because that's what people actually mean. They mean those two fucking games. They don't mean the whole breadth of Castlevania and the whole breadth of Metroid, because you know what? I also made that point in that episode. Jedi Survivor, I think if it's like anything, it's like Metroid Prime, specifically Metroid Prime.
Yeah.
Not other Metroid games. But people will just use that term, and then it means nothing.
I think Fallen Order kind of fits that term as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right, but like, we don't even compare to specific Castlevania or Metroid games anymore. We just say this blanket term that means fucking nothing.
And it's also why I'm not really a fan of the Soulslike or even the roguelike names either. Like, at least with roguelike,
that's a game.
The
rogue.
Yeah, but also,
I mean?
But also like the word rogue is kind of generic enough that you can kind of fill in the blanks of what it is supposed to be.
And if you don't know, you can look to a video game called Rogue. Yeah. Right? You can't look to a video game called Metroid or Castlevania, because that could mean a million different fucking things.
And it's the same thing with like Soulslikes, but also like again, I don't really like the term Soulslike either. Like, any term that you need to know what a previous game is to know what the genre is like tough. Like, there's a reason we don't call them Doom clones anymore. Like, we kind of moved past that.
I'm okay with it if we're just talking about a thing. Like I said, you can look up what Doom is. You can look up what Rogue is. You can't look up what Metroidvania is. What the fuck does that mean? Nothing.
Yeah.
So, especially the way we use it nowadays.
Yeah, and you can look up what Souls is, but also I think it limits what like Souls games can be. Because I see a lot of potential in like the certain key aspects that make a game a Souls-like. And I'm like, you could do so many other newer, interesting things with it, you know? Yeah. So but we might be entering that phase where companies are now starting to be like, let's just take this, and it's about like a crab in the ocean. Who gives a shit, right?
Yeah, who gives a hot fuck? Yeah.
Or there's one I really want to play. It's called The Surge, where it's like some dude in like a wheelchair who gets like outfitted like robot parts and shit. I've told it's pretty neat.
I will play Sekiro. I feel like I feel like I should do that just for the culture.
I don't know if you'll come out of it loving Sekiro, but I don't think I will. But I think you'll probably like it more than the other ones, because it is different enough, and the way it approaches combat is like Souls-like, but with a twist on it. And I like the twist.
Okay.
Because I like the way it approaches things, and honestly, it's a lot of fun, even if I'm absolute dog shit at it. It's actually like really fun. Like, again, Sekiro has like some special sauce to it, you know, and also I think it really taking influence from like Asian culture as well will probably help. Because I love the art style in Sekiro. It's really
we're doing a lot of that recently too. Like a lot of these Soulslikes, or I mean, whether it's like, what is that one? Wolong something or other. And then there's like Wu Chang Fallen Feathers.
Yeah.
And then there's like
Assassin's Creed Shadows, Forza Horizon 6.
It's getting a little much right now. I feel like we can do some other themes with this.
But anyway, weren't we talking about Darksiders?
Darksiders 3, I guess we can talk about the game for 15 minutes. No, we can talk about it. Okay,
I liked Darksiders 3 though.
Here's my here's my issue here. Obviously, I just established for like a fucking hour now that I don't really like Soulslikes. So it's very hard for me to talk about Darksiders 3 because I'm inherently coming to a genre that I don't like. But here's also the thing. It's so different from the first two games completely that it's also like you can't really compare. Like, obviously with Darksiders 2, we could just bounce it off the first one. I can't do that this time. So like, it's very hard for me to talk about this in a way that feels fair because I feel like I'm coming at it from such an unfair perspective.
But at the same time, like the art style is still very consistent. It exists in the same world.
You want to start there? Let's just start let's start with the game, with the way the game looks, because like I think this game actually looks, performance issues aside, it does have that, right? It could be optimized better, but just as a world, I think this looks as cool as the first one. Honestly, I do. As we said last time, Darksiders 2, not really my favorite. A little too gray, a little too brown, kind of drab. A lot of the places look the same to me. This game had the pizzazz. When I first got to that underwater level, that shit blew me away, actually. I thought that looked super cool.
Yeah, like the progression is great. It feels like it's trying to be closer to Darksiders 1, because I believe the plot is taking place at the same time as 2, where Fury... It's basically like, you play as Fury, and her goal is basically she has to hunt down the 7 deadly sins. Like, they've escaped, and you have to take them down, basically.
These 7 deadly sins are personified as, like, things, as, like, people or, like, whatever. And honestly, that's the coolest part of the game to me.
I love the designs of, like, all of the enemies and the bosses. Like, they really go for that kind of exaggerated art style that had worked so well in the previous games.
All of them hit. I think
like
all 7 are
Fury's
cool.
design is great. I enjoy her character as well. Just kind of the way she kind of struggles with like being this like hard badass, but understanding there are like other things going on, and they're like there's some character development here. Like there's that bit where they try to like dupe her by like having the other 3 horsemen come in, and they have like a conversation or whatever, and then she's like I knew you fucked up because they kneeled, you shouldn't have done that, bitch, that kind of stuff.
I love how ruthless she is. I love how the
environments are great.
I love how her companion is just like a simp for her completely. It's great.
Oh yeah like so the Na'vi in this game.
Yeah calling her mistress and shit. It's like, oh man, like,
and then
Fury stepped on her at the end.
Well, it all kind of ties into the ending of the game as well.
Course,
and
of course.
And it seems like they really kind of went for it in that way, and I respect that. That gameplay aside, I think it is like really befitting of like a Darksiders game. Like they got just about everything else right.
They did,
in my opinion, even if you're not a big fan of the combat. But I think the combat is closer to those two than you think, because despite it having Souls-like elements, it doesn't like go for it in the way that some other games do when they're trying to copy that stuff. It still feels loose and like just like kind of actiony. They're just like, oh, we just have like time dodges now or whatever, and you only really need it for like the bigger enemies. Like most normal enemies, you can just fight them like normal and you're fine.
Here's the thing. Let's start there, because people were so upset by the Souls-like combat, that they added like a month later, they patched the game to have a classic mode. So now we're playing this game in the year of our Lord 2025. By the way, full disclosure, we're recording this on Cyber Monday. Maybe I should look for a Sekiro deal. Well, the game's got to be on sale, right?
Oh, probably.
Surely. Anyway, so Darksiders 3 presents you with a choice when you start a game. Default mode, and I'll just read exactly what it says. Default, a more methodical combat system than Darksiders 1 and 2. Classic hack and slash combat similar to Darksiders 1 and 2. By the way, I hate the terms hack and slash. We're talking about genres here. I do not like that. It's bad. It feels bad in the mouth. Hack and slash. I hate it.
I think it's kind of fun, but the problem is it was always used as like a derogatory term.
Yes.
Like it was never used as a good thing. It was always like
Doomclone used to be used as a derogatory term as well, which is why we don't say it anymore.
Like a game I grew up liking called Spartan Total Warrior was kind of like derived as just being, it's just a hack and slash. But I was like, this game's fun as shit. We all
it was always used. That's what people used to call Warriors games and shit. Fuck off. Anyway, but so they patched this in.
By the way, Sekiro is $30 on PS5 right now.
Oh, motherfucker. It's probably the same on Steam, too.
Yeah,
Son
it's
of a bitch.
it's the game of the year edition, and that game never really goes on sale, so it's
Oh,
probably the best
man.
you're gonna get.
Fuck.
And unless you want like even looking at like GG.deal, yeah, I'm not seeing a better deal
Fuck
than
me.
30.
Fine. I guess it's 30
I
bucks.
have a physical for 30, so if you can find it physically for 30, there you go. At least you have a box you could stare at.
I don't need that. I don't need that. But yeah, classic mode wasn't originally in the game. So you played through on default mode. Am I right? Did you ever try classic mode?
I messed around with classic after I beat the game, just played a little bit of it, and honestly, it didn't feel that different.
That's the thing. It doesn't feel that fucking different. It's not a remedy. And okay, so let's start there. I played on default mode up to a point where I was just like, I was texting you, I was hating the fucking game. I'm like, what? I'm going to switch it to classic mode. Maybe this will make the game a little more palatable for me. I'll take anything at this point to get through this fucking game. I did beat the game. I did. I got through it.
Yeah.
But I was like, switch it to classic. And really the only two things that I noticed that are different is that you can attack cancel into dodge. That's one thing that pretty much every character action game relies on, is that you can dodge it pretty much any time. You couldn't do that in default mode in Darksiders 3. So that makes it feel a little, it sounds like a small thing, but honestly, that just opens things up a lot.
It is the big difference in combat from character action to Souls, where in a Souls game, the animation has to go before you can dodge. Whereas in a character action, as you said, you can just kind of dodge whenever you want.
Yeah.
But those create like different strategies for how you kind of approach combat.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But in this game, it doesn't feel that different. And also, you can heal without that stupid bespoke fucking animation to like, oh, I'm going to pop. That's another Souls thing I'm not really a big fan of. It's like they make healing a fucking tragedy.
You can kind of animation cancel that. I noticed it's very light. Like as long as she does like the snap or whatever, like as soon as the snap done and the health is going, you can just dodge and get the fuck out of there.
Right.
Yeah.
And on classic mode, you can pretty much heal not whenever you want, but as long as you're like you have 2 feet on the ground, like basic animations, you can heal.
But also I don't mind that risk reward system, because it kind of makes it a little. It turns the fights kind of more into like, there's more strategy involved. And again, I maybe I'm just like a secret soul sicko, but a part of me doesn't mind it.
I don't think it's a secret. No, I don't mind it either. It's just that like it combined with all the other stuff in the game, it just makes me feel, again, it's the kind of stuff that just makes me bored with that genre, but that's just me again. And that's why this is hard to talk about for me, because like, I'm going to be saying a lot of things. Well, it's like, well, I just don't fucking like these games anyway. And that doesn't feel fair to Darksiders 3, in my opinion.
Yeah.
That I'm saying it that way. But
yeah, and I think that's why it got such kind of weird reviews, because I think people were coming in expecting like 1 and 2, and then they don't get that, and they're like, "Oh, this is kind of whack." And again, I understand that, but as I was playing it, I don't know. I didn't feel like it was really that crazy different. It's just the combat isn't as fluid. It's just a little bit more heavy. Yeah, and I think once I kind of got over that barrier, I was just like, okay, well then we're just cruising, and the game's not like terribly difficult. Like I played on balanced, and it felt like it was just fine. Like I died
on whatever normal was.
Yeah, I died sometimes, but like I never really got frustrated at any point. It was like if I died a couple points, I did, and I would just kind of figure out. There was one enemy that pissed me off in this fucking game. It was like this big burly dude that would like sound a horn and summon other enemies.
What a prick.
Like I could not figure out, like, this guy has to have some kind of weakness. I could never figure it out. I'm like, what is it that this dude has? And it was just kind of bullshit. Like the only time I could actually do any damage is if I would summon like the Fury mode and just kind of wipe them out.
Right.
But I hated wasting that.
By the way, I'm glad that shit is so good in this game, and she turns huge and she's just whipping the shit out of everyone.
Oh yeah, that's
it's
fun.
Like, and Darksiders 2, it didn't feel that great. It doesn't last that long. That's like another thing they nerfed in that game. Darksiders 3 brings it back better than ever.
Exactly. Yeah. And the level design, I think, is fairly decent there. The puzzles are, there's not really that many here.
No. And I feel like if there's anything they probably should have kept from the old games to make it feel like those, it should have been the puzzles, but they're very, and also whenever you actually do have something to figure out, your fucking simp always comes out and gives you some hint you didn't ask for. And it's like, shut up.
I don't like
Shut
that shit
the fuck
either.
up. I finally have a puzzle and you're telling me how to do it. Shut up, video game.
Yeah, I've never liked that either, because then it's like, don't insult my intelligence. Let me figure
I
this out.
hate that shit, man. That's modern game design shit I can't stand, but whatever.
And like the only time there were like noticeable puzzles was when you're in that underground subway avoiding that like evil sentient tornado.
Yeah, that was fucking weird.
Yeah, but
I like that stuff though.
But it was kind of
fun.
cool. Yeah, and the way you kill it is by like setting like a fuel center on fire. And then you lure the tornado into the fire and it just burns itself.
You essentially just make it very sad and then it burns up. Yeah. That
kinda
shit
love
is like
that.
a weird dream I would have. Yeah. So like I enjoyed those environments.
Yeah. It still has those like little quirky bits in there, which I appreciated. Yeah. And as we mentioned, the underwater section I thought was really cool. Like the underwater section to me did remind me a little bit of like Metroid, specifically like in like Fusion or some, where you get like the water suit and you can finally like start fucking around down there.
Here's the problem with that though. Because like, yeah, they have that whole underwater section. If you're like searching for stuff and you're an exploratory type, that's cool. You don't actually have to go under there, because all you really got to do is swim to the left over there, use your fake morph ball to like go on the wall there.
Oh yeah.
And then you go to like the mid boss. All that shit is just for fluff. And I think that's kind of what bothers me about Darksiders 3 as like a major point. Again, I understand I'm not a fan of these type of level designs in Souls-like games. However, I feel like in other games like what I played of Demon Souls, I played like half of it. I feel like those games are a lot more intentional with the things that are actually on the map and the things you can go to. That didn't feel intentional at all. It's just like, here's this big underwater part, but you don't actually have to interact with it. You can just go over here.
Yeah, like, but exploring, you do get some like rewards and things that do kind of help your character.
Of course.
So they're definitely worth doing at least, but I can understand that. And yeah, it does have like an RPG leveling system, but it's incredibly streamlined, and I kind of appreciate
you just
that.
Pick between, you put your stats into 3 things. How did you build, by the way? Did you build even?
I usually go even, but once I reach like past 100 on the elemental, I'm like, just give me more health and physical damage. Let's just but get this shit going crazy. And then I would like, do the little amulets and try to do those like little weird skill tree things. And it's just, I like that it's not like excessive. I'm glad there's no fucking loot in this game. Thank God. I mean, the loot you get is just like that random stuff, and you can go there and mess with it. You can or not.
Like we said in Darksiders 2, it was cool. It was like kind of novel, but it also didn't make that much difference, because especially since like when you leveled up in that game, you didn't feel that much more powerful. You feel very much more powerful in Darksiders 3.
Yes,
you actually do feel that way.
Yes,
especially since I just went strength. I just mainly boosted strength. I put like 10 points in the other stuff, but for the most part, I had like 30, 35 points in strength.
Yeah. But I always like to max out my health, so I have as much hit points as physically possible.
Well, see, that's the thing. I'm usually that way too. I always go like HP and defense and stuff like that. When it comes to like I have to pick stuff, I always pick that stuff, especially like in Shin Megami Tensei games. I always go defense, always. But like,
that makes sense for those games, though. You kind of need the defense.
Yeah, you need not even necessarily the HP. You just need to be able to absorb stuff. So like defense and like magic,
like you need
defense,
evasion, like evasion as well.
Oh yeah, if you could make that big bitch miss with this like giant ice or whatever, oh my god, happy day. That is sex is great, but have you ever made the final boss miss his ice attack? Holy shit.
And that final boss is sex for some reason. I don't know how that happened.
You were fighting the entity known as sex.
I'm fighting a giant penis monster. This is crazy.
I mean, it's SMT. What are you going to do? But yeah, dude, I just went strength on this. I don't know why I felt that way. It just felt like the thing to do.
No, that's fair.
But yeah, that was fine. One thing, I wasn't really into the story of this game like I was the other ones. I think it ended up in a cool place. I like the ending and like all that kind of stuff, but kind of getting there wasn't my favorite, just because I didn't understand why we kept getting summoned to this other realm, and this big goat man would just give you, here's your new power. Okay, now go back to the game. And it's just like, I don't know why they had to do it that way. It's weird.
Yeah, I mean, I think it has to kind of do with the whole overarching story that they're having of like heaven and hell fighting each other, and like accusing the horsemen of like, well, they started it. Well, no, you started it, and all this like bullshit. It's almost like Call of Duty plot where it's like all this like geopolitics going on.
Yeah.
So it just it doesn't. A lot of the overarching stuff doesn't make a lot of sense. But I liked the little like point to point stuff, like the interactions you'd have with the bosses. And then when Fury's like, well, I guess I got to make a pact with these angels. And then like almost immediately the next boss, like, I think it's Lust, like tricks that one dude into thinking you were the one and you have to fight both of them. And did you kill both of them or just her?
I don't remember. I think just her. Yeah,
because you don't have to kill him. In fact, it's probably better if you don't.
Because
you're already halfway through her by that point anyway, so it's just making it tougher.
I don't think I did that. No.
Yeah,
I don't think I did that.
And did you fight like the secret bosses, like Abraxas and the Hollow Knight and all that stuff?
Oh no! If I saw any boss like that, I didn't have to do. I was like, I'm out of here. I don't.
Okay.
I don't want to. I fuck with it.
I looked it up. I was like, what's the right way? What's the preferred way? And someone's like, oh, just kill this one guy, but spare the other guy. And I'm like, and you got a little bit more of the ending cutscene. So I was like, cool.
Yeah.
And it didn't really amount to much, but whatever.
Well, one thing I really, and this is something I complained about in Darksiders 2, is that the bosses didn't feel special. They just felt like I'm fighting a giant skeleton. It's just a big version of an enemy that I fight the exact same way as like everything else.
Yeah, you're fighting a Shadow of the Colossus reject.
Yeah. And like Darksiders 3 obviously does not have that problem because the 7 deadly sins themselves are so unique and so different from each other, not just visually. By the way, do you want to talk about them visually real quick? Because I don't want to skip over that because I think they're all fucking so cool.
Oh, yeah, they're all fantastic. Which one was your favorite?
Oh, God, I loved, I think Avarice was my favorite with the giant gold bag on his back.
Yeah,
and like the whole,
that's a cool one.
Dude, so cool.
I liked Sloth, just this giant fucking like frog lizard thing, like just like sinking into a chair, being like, what do you fucking want? Like loved that. Like that was cool.
That was good. I love that Lust was essentially Hela from like Thor, like Marvel. Essentially. Like I loved it. Yeah.
It was great. Yeah.
That was really cool. She was sexy. She had a sword.
Yeah.
And
they put all of that like, the weight into the boss fights to make them feel more special. And like you don't get a crazy amount of them either. Like they come at like decent rates as well, but yeah, I enjoyed those. Even if like the strategy for all of them is kind of the same fucking thing. But it is what it is, man.
They're more fun than Darksiders 2, but again, that's also my problem with this genre. It is the same thing.
I just find it hard for me to complain about that when, say, if I'm playing a Bayonetta game, I just do the same like 4 or 5 combos every fucking time, no matter who I'm fighting. So can I really complain if I'm going to be a repetitive bitch no matter what? I can't.
I like to do all sorts of wild shit in Bayonetta. I mean, look, everyone but that's a great thing about character action games. You find the things that you like to do, and those are totally different from everyone else.
It gives you a list of like 45,000 combos that you can fuck around with, which is neat. But I always found it excessive because I'm like, I'm not doing all these, and most people,
of course not. Nobody, you're not expected to. It's just a matter of like, ooh, I like doing that one. Oh yeah, I could use this one that way. It's almost like Tekken, right? Tekken has like a move list that is like hundreds of things long, and it's like you can really just use these 15 things.
Yeah. Whereas like say like in Mortal Kombat, like whatever special moves and combos I have, I'm using all of them.
Yeah.
But they give you like a handful of special moves, a couple combos. You're like, well, I'm using all of these because I kind of need to because the game fucking cheats. But we're not here to talk about that.
Computer cheats like fuck. But no, I think they're all cool. Gluttony Gluttony was like a fucking what? Like a vagina monster coming out of like the thing. But then it was also like Cthulhu at the same time.
Yeah, it was awesome. Yeah. And then it morphs into like the Kraken under the water, which honestly, this was probably the most challenging boss fight for me. This one took me a lot.
Fun. That was not fun. Sorry. They went too far on that.
It was the toughest boss fight. I think just because he was just unpredictable enough. I kind of figured out like, oh, if I stand like too close, he'll do this, or too far. But it's like, it's that sucking animation he does where he sucks you in.
Yeah, because it fucking kills you practically. It takes like 80%. You better be healed the fuck up. Again, I didn't put a whole lot of points into HP, but like, man.
Yeah, again, it's like, well, the strategy with him I found was like hit him like 2 or 3 times and then just immediately bail. Because that's usually what I would do with the boss fights is I would like hit attack like 2 or 3 times and then just hit a dodge.
Yeah.
Because I'm like, oh, it's going to sync up. And most of the time it's synced right up.
Right.
So I kind of
it's just like that
out.
was just not. It was just too much. It went a
That's
little
fair.
too far. It was just like, come on, guys. And you know what also pissed me off at that fight? Where it's just like, okay, you know the thing where he does where he like spits the poison out on the floor and does like poison splats.
Yeah,
if you run around the perimeter of the room, he'll just keep doing it indefinitely. He wants you to splat it on the floor, and that fucking sucks. It's like, okay, I can do it this way. Oh, they won't actually let you do it this way. Well, fuck you, video game.
Yeah,
Like,
if you're
come
like,
on.
yeah, if you're like real close and like, though I found if you got super close and just like hit him, he'll stop.
Yeah, but
Most
it's
of the time
like
he just cancels that.
I found out a way to cheese it, and they won't let me cheat. Let me cheat. God damn it! It's part of the arena.
These games don't let me cheat. They fucking suck.
That's one of the best things. I don't know if you ever watched like Sakurai's videos on like game design or whatever.
Yeah, here
where
and
he
there.
he had one of those things where it's like kind of like basically let the players cheat. You know what I mean? If they feel like they're getting away with something, that's fun. Even though they're not technically getting away with something, you could have designed it that way. If they feel like they are, that's like very, very empowering.
Yeah,
you know?
like a good idea of game design is let the players think they figured it out for themselves when really you set it up for them to figure it out. Like that's kind of what makes the Metroid games work.
Yes.
Is that it gives you that feeling of like, oh, I did that, take that. And the game designers are like, that's just what we wanted.
Yep, exactly.
Furiously
Exactly as we
writing
drew it
notes.
up, bitch.
Exactly.
But yeah, dude, I think the 7 Deadly... It's some of the coolest bosses I have seen in a while in playing a video game.
Yeah,
no
like
joke.
I thought this game was like very inspired. Like
Yeah.
it definitely felt in that 6 years they had come up with some like pretty neat ideas and were able to like put them in there. And yeah, despite some people hating on it, I mean, I'm gonna say I think this game was overhated. Like it may not be for everybody, but I think it did a better job than I was expecting. And like I even came out of it going, this is probably my favorite game in the series, actually.
It's inappropriate for a Darksiders game. It's inappropriate to have like Darksiders 3. Oh, Darksiders is back after 6 years and have it be not like the first two. I completely understand that. In a vacuum, yes, it's not a bad game. I just don't think they should have done this to Darksiders.
I think the context like really matters in that way. But yeah, when you're comparing all of the games, like what I really liked coming out of the series was that like each main character kind of had their own kind of type of game. You know, like they had their own like kind of approach to how they and I really liked that because
that is cool.
Like the variety I thought was great, and this is kind of like what Fury does, and I grew to appreciate it. You know, but I get the context of people not liking it, but for me, it's probably like I would replay Darksiders 1 just to like give it another chance because maybe I was a little too harsh on it. But Darksiders 3, honestly, if I wouldn't hate doing a replay at like a slightly higher difficulty. And I'm not a guy who replays games all the time.
I typically don't. I mean, like, I will replay stuff if it's like short enough and it's just like, oh, I need to revisit.
It's Mario 3 time, baby.
Yeah,
Let's
exactly.
replay it.
But like, here's the thing. I would love to replay Tears of the Kingdom now that it's on Switch 2 and it has this new version. I don't have the fucking time for that, man.
Well, we're talking
I would love
about
to,
like,
but I can't.
We were talking about Bayonetta. Like, I plan to replay Bayonetta's 2 and 3 when I get a Switch 2, because I would like to play those again on a new system, and especially 3 to see if it runs any better.
It runs better, but it still looks like ass because like the resolution is like fucking terrible, and like, you know, like but it'll run 60. It does do that.
But there are a handful of Switch games I would like to replay on Switch 2, like Astral Chain.
Oh, yeah.
I would love to replay that one.
Oh,
on Switch
I would love
2.
that to get a 60 bump. Oh my god, I would love that.
I don't know if it did or not, but I know it
did
does.
Not.
But it runs
I would love
better.
it too.
Yeah,
that would be the best. I thought here's. I don't know, man. Like, I get it. This is a completely different genre, but like, I thought we were playing edgy Zelda out here. That's where we started.
Now we're playing
like,
tame Dark Souls.
Yeah, it's like, what happened to edgy Zelda? What happened to the cool
that.
kills? That doesn't even happen anymore. Darksiders 1 had all these great kills and all these gory, like, You know, come on, man.
Well, I think by 2018, like Zelda clones and the God of War stuff had kind of fallen out of fashion. And so that's why they pivoted the game style a little bit to try to reflect more of what was around at the time.
I motherfucking suppose. I mean, look, let's be honest. That's what like Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom do, right? Like Zelda is changing. I understand that.
They changed the Zelda formula. God of War changed its formula.
They still feel like Zelda. They still sound like Zelda. They still look like Zelda, even though it's a completely different art
It
style.
says Zelda on the box. How could it not
It's gotta be Zelda, right?
Yeah. It's not cell shaded cartoon bullshit.
If someone hasn't played a fucking Zelda since Wind Waker or something like that, I'd be like, yeah, definitely get into these new ones. I don't think you can't say that for Darksiders 3.
No, I think that's fair.
You know? So it does lose something. Cool last boss. I like the last boss.
Oh yeah, last boss was fun. Yeah.
Like using all the different powers of the 7, right? Like that's cool.
Yeah, like sure, it was a better boss battle than 2. I'll give you that much.
that was
awful. Yeah,
that was awful.
Like those issues of it like not feeling truly connected to the series, I totally understand. But I don't know, just there was something about this one that clicked with me.
You know, and I will say this, you know what I did like? I liked it more as it went along. At first I was kind of bored. I'm like, okay, you know, I like the environments. We're back to ruined cities and overgrown vegetation and stuff like that. Cool, right? Oh, we're in this underground, you know, train station. That's cool.
Yeah.
But once you start getting all your powers, you get your 4 elements, and plus you get like weapons, sub-weapons come along with that. So you get these 4 different weapons, and you get these 4 different play styles, and you get these like all these movement abilities of like doing the fire jump or doing the hammer swing or whatever with the purple.
Yeah.
I forget what the purple power is with the purple.
I
Vikings
forget.
power.
It was one of like the they were all called hollows. I remember that.
But like once you get all that stuff and start traversing around the map, I gotta say that's pretty fun.
Yeah,
it really is, because it kind of shakes off the stodginess of like the Souls games that I don't particularly care for over time. Mm-hmm. And then you get to do all these like cool things with movement. You get to walk on water with the ice. Like I think that's fun.
It was a rare instance of like, but I think this succeeds in the way like other like say search action games succeed, which is when you get all of the upgrades and then you're like, oh, I kind of want to go back and see all the shit I missed. Mm-hmm. And in Darksiders 3 I actually like did a decent amount of backtracking to find stuff. I didn't find everything, but I kind of had fun going back and being like, oh, this thing breaks that thing, let's see what's over there, and mm-hmm. and fighting like some random like new enemies and things like that. Like it triggered that for me. But that's, I think, because I enjoyed the movement and like the traversal of the world, and I liked being in this world and exploring it as well. You know, so I wanted to see more of it. Like I put almost 25 hours into this guy.
I played, I don't know, 15-ish or something. I kind of got through it as like, I'm glad I switched to classic though. That just having attack cancel into dodge just made it much more palatable for me. It doesn't, that doesn't change the game, because remember before we played it, we were like, why did they add that? Because at some point, unless they change the entire level design, it's still a fucking Souls game. It's gotta be. How are they going to change it that much? The answer is they didn't. I don't know if I have any more particular fucking points about this game. I really enjoyed it. I'm sorry we talked so much more about genre than we did the game, but that's that's what I expected to come in here with. It is what it is. They changed it. I get why people didn't like it. I don't like it, but I also don't like these games. So again, I don't know how fair that is for me to say. You're a Soul sicko though, so you can approve.
Not as much as some of these like guys who are like, I beat all the Souls games without taking a hit. I'm not those guys. I just think I'm learning an appreciation for what makes them work. And like, I don't like all of them, obviously, but I think I'm a little bit more forgiving on it, because I'm kind of willing to meet it halfway a little bit more.
Okay.
You know, but also I obsess over like every golf game. So what do I know?
I mean, I'm sitting here wishing I could get back to fucking Dynasty Warriors Origins. You know, where's that DLC? God damn it, give it to me. Yeah,
I'm surprised I haven't pulled the trigger on buying like the Golden Tee compilation they made.
You should. You 100% should do that.
Oh, I want to. I really want to, but I'm just like I don't have a job right now. I shouldn't be spending my money on this bullshit. I shouldn't.
Did you fuck with any of the Crucible or Void stuff in the game? Like the
No.
Okay.
No. Whenever a game has like, oh, you can do like this side like arena level thing, I'm like, I don't want to fucking do that.
I don't ever want to do that.
I
shit
never
either.
like doing that shit. I just find it annoying because I'll get a decent amount of the way and then I'll die, and then they're like, oh, here's the stuff you got, and you have to start the whole thing. I'm like, fuck you, I don't want to do this. I never like doing that stuff. It doesn't matter what the game is, it just doesn't do it for me.
I like that there's no map in Darksiders 3. I think that's fun.
It didn't bother me, surprisingly. Though there are fast travel points, which made certain when I would go and backtrack or whatever, it definitely made that easier.
Right.
So
like,
it was
fine. I like that there's no map. I think that is
it's fine.
That is fun. You know,
Yeah.
I think again, I think a lot of games could stand to not have stuff like that, right? But
again, it depends on the game. But
of course, but I think like in games like this, I think it works. I don't think you need a map. Two, it just makes it like be in the moment of the game. So what if you get fucking lost? There's not really that many places to go anyway. You'll find your way back to where you're supposed to be.
Yeah, you either find a dead end with some extra stuff or you just keep progressing.
It's like, oh, here's some enemies I haven't killed, so like clearly I'm supposed to go this way, right?
Yeah,
So
it wasn't a big deal. Yeah.
Oh, we need to talk about this. I think I may have boss skipped. Remember?
Oh, I forgot about this.
We need to talk about this. So let me set this up for everybody. So here's what happened. I was being pissed off at Gluttony, and I was being pissed off at the game in general, and I finally beat that boss fight. By the way, once you get underwater and make him suck up the bombs, that's not that bad. It's just the first part that's like...
Yeah, well, that part when you got under, I was like, how the fuck do you figure this out? I eventually did. Because I just couldn't figure out the way to get the bombs into his mouth. But once you figure out the pattern, it's like, oh, you do it twice. That's it.
It happened to me by accident. Like I saw him like almost. I thought he was about to breathe fire, and it's like, oh no, wait! I think he swallowed one of the bombs or whatever. And then I figured out. So I did it once by accident, and I was like, okay. Anyway, point is, after I beat Gluttony, then I beat Sloth.
Yeah.
The problem is you beat Sloth first. Isn't that like the first guy you beat?
Well, according to like this list of like boss encounters, he's like Sloth is 5th down, and then Gluttony's like another 4 down. Like, because Sloth is when you get into the underground train section, there's that section that's like blocked off that you can't get to, and there's just like a dude just kind of sitting there.
Right.
You know, and it's Sloth, and you're like, oh, that's like a boss guy or whatever, and they have to go all the way around to get to him. And it's like right when you get the fire ability, right after that, you go up and then you fight him, and then you just keep going.
But how did I not do that?
That I don't know, because it's not like you get the fire ability, then they immediately put you into Sloth. So I don't know how you were able. I mean, you said you're having issues with the game, so I don't know if it was like the game weirdly glitched on you or something.
Well, here's also something like if for people who haven't played the game, you don't have a map, but you do have like a compass, like the line style compass. And there's like a skull in the compass that tells you where like the direction of where you're supposed to go, basically, which is another reason why you don't need a map. And that generally directs you to the boss. So considering how story focused everything is, like, oh, I'm fighting this one, then I'm fighting that one. You wouldn't think a game like this would let you skip a boss accidentally, because if it's pointing to where the next boss is, how did I miss it?
Yeah, I honestly don't know.
That's so fucking weird. So after I beat Gluttony, then I was like traveling back through like the train station stuff, because that's where it was directing me. I'm like, okay, maybe I have to go through. There's some like other thing I could use with a power here to go, to some other place, right? Like we said, search action style. But no, it was just directing me back to Sloth. The game was like, okay, now you need to go back and do this. And he was so easy that I told you, that's the reason why I mentioned to you. I was like, after Gluttony, Sloth was like a pushover. And you're like, what?
Wait. I was like, wait a minute. Yeah. So, yeah, because right after you, like it says here, like from the Volgrim location at the transit turnstile, you head through the tunnel on the right and you continue into the larger open room at the end of the tunnel. And that's when the scene triggers and you fight Sloth. And these like the 4th of Deadly Sins, you come up at that point. So the only thing I could guess is through that train section, you just like you got the fire ability, and then you just like I guess, fucked off to the next section.
I guess so. But if I was following where it was supposed to telling me where to go, which is what I was doing pretty much the whole time.
Yeah. So
it should have directed me right to Sloth.
I would think so, but I have no idea.
But it's also weird that the game accounted for that, right? That at some point it was like, oops, he hasn't done this.
So maybe the game's a little bit more open-ended than we think.
Maybe, but like, considering you can't pick like, oh, I want to fight this one now, and then it like the compass directs you there.
Yeah,
I don't fucking know, dude.
I genuinely don't know.
Also, like, okay, before you enter like the slip in time, right? It does say, give you like, you're about to enter the final act. You won't be able to return to any incomplete boss encounters, but they're probably just talking about like hidden bosses, right? Not like the seven deadly sins.
Yeah, there's a handful of hidden bosses there, and I believe you can't access the final boss until you beat all the others anyway.
So
because you need all of the like all the hollows and all those abilities,
right? So anyways. I would have had to have beat Sloth to even be able to do that.
Exactly.
What the fuck, dude? That's so weird. Yeah, and I tried looking this up. I couldn't find any answers. Did I do some very rare,
maybe you
weird
did
glitch?
Maybe it was you. Yeah, like it was probably like the guy who learned how to skip in Super Metroid for the first time. They're like, holy shit, can't believe I did this.
But those games don't actually lock you. It's not a story thing where it's like, you need to beat Kraid to be able to whatever, right? Like that game doesn't work that way.
Yeah,
right? So it's like, but this is like, again, with very cutscene, story heavy, like you beat this boss and then there's a cutscene and you talk about it and shit.
Yeah. So
I don't know, man. Fucking weird.
It was very weird.
So, but I don't know. I guess maybe I should like speed run Darksiders 3. I know how to do the sloth skip.
The sloths. # sloth skip.
Okay, before we wrap this up, how forward are you looking to Darksiders 4? Because despite everything, I really want to see what this game is going to be.
I am looking forward to it because I want to see how all of these characters and all of these gameplay styles coalesce together. Because all three of them up to this point play very differently, and they all have different approaches to the way they do their games. So it's going to be really interesting to see what style they choose to merge everybody together with. Like, I have an idea, but I'm not sure of how they're going to do it. So, and all they did was just say they were doing it, and it's going to be like a co-op-y game where you play as all four of them. That's all really they've said.
They said it's really?
I think
they
so,
actually
yeah.
said that. Okay, yeah. Interesting.
Well, they did emphasize that, like, oh, it's going to be all four of them together, and you're going to get to, play as all of them, and it has like this kind of co-op-y thing, and I'm just like, as long as it's not like Marvel Ultimate Alliance, I think we'll be just fine.
I mean, I think that's the next game we're going to talk about here.
It wishes it was Marvel Ultimate Alliance.
But anyway, yeah, I think that's shit. I think that's about it on Darksiders 3, unless you got any other little shits.
No, I'm all pooped out.
Okay, you're all shits out. Okay,
yeah.
Well, we'll see you probably again. I don't know exactly how these are going to air. Sorry. I think we're going to see you in a couple weeks, and we're going to talk about Darksiders Genesis. I'm pretty sure.
You just dump them all at once on one day.
Oh, Merry Christmas, everybody!
A Darksiders dump.
One of these episodes could very well air on Christmas. I don't know how the schedule's going to shake out for December yet, but
well, then Merry Christmas, you filthy animal.
Maybe. Well, we'll see. Oh, it could be New Year's Eve, actually. One of these. Happy New Year.
An actual fun holiday to celebrate.
All right. We'll catch you next time. We'll be back next time to talk about Darksiders Genesis. Thanks for joining us. Check the description of this podcast to find Thrak for a 3DO experience, a Thrak Ops, all that type of good shit. And we'll see you next time. Bye.
Fine time. Broadcasting.